OBSBOT made this little box. It's called UVC to NDI Adapter. It sounds really good, but I think it's kind of useless unless you do what I'm gonna show you somewhere at the end of this video. Thank God it actually works. But I don't understand why, unless they are thinking of making another product later that will be more useful to most people. So what this box promises basically is to turn any UVC signal like a webcam. In fact, they do demo some of their webcams like the OBSBOT Tiny 2, which is a fantastic camera. I have a video about it. It's a fantastic webcam. It records 4K and everything with all the tracking. So I'm a big fan of OBSBOT and all the stuff they do. However, so you can take that little camera with, or any camera with USB Type-C mostly, and then turn into NDI. Basically, NDI is just to be able to send video over network. So basically they have this cable. This is an Ethernet cable. I can connect to the box, connect to a switch or anything, or any internet connection basically, and be able to send this webcam signal over NDI. Now this kind of sound really good as an idea, but at the same time I feel like the box is almost useless because I don't understand why. So if you look at the website right now, this box is listed at $400. I mean, this is Canadian dollars. In US dollars, probably 300 and something. And this camera costs about 200 and something. So I'm like, I'm gonna buy a webcam for 200. Some webcams are even cheaper, and then invest in an NDI adapter for it, just to be able to get an NDI signal using a camera. I just don't understand why I would do that. And that's why, again, I'm a big fan of OBSBOT, but I don't understand why they made this little box. For me personally, I would think if I had something like HDMI to NDI adapter, that would make more sense. Why? Because that would mean I can take any camera on the market right now, most cameras, any cinema camera that has HDMI, because this box actually does support 4K, right? So I can take any camera on the market right now that has HDMI, Panasonic GH5, Canon cameras, Sony cameras, any camera that supports HDMI, and turn that signal into HDMI. That makes more sense. Why? Because that means I can have the camera far away in a different, let's say in a church environment or in an event environment. I can have a camera maybe in the lobby and then use this little box to connect to some sort of network switch or network like somewhere in the lobby. As long as the same network, be able to bring an HDMI signal into my production back in another room, because now I can use something like OBS or vMix, anything that supports NDI, and actually be able to get that HDMI signal even in a YouTube studio like what I'm doing right now. Let's say if I wanted to use my GH5 somewhere in the back, I could use an HDMI cable and connect into something like this, and then be able to get that signal over network, right? Because everything, like in my house now, I'm in my office, I have like all over the place, so everything is kind of, you know, network wired. You know, I can access anything on the network, right, with a switch or anything. I think that will make more sense. So that's why I actually had to test this little box. Before we get too far, I just want to show you what you get in the box. Obviously, you're gonna get the actual box. This is what's gonna look like, and the USB cable, nothing really much, and some documentation. Now the actual box, one side you're gonna get USB Type-C for charging the box, and then you got another USB Type A input. This is gonna be mostly for using some of their remote, some OBSBOT remotes that support USB. When I saw it, I thought you had option between USB and USB Type-C, but that's not the case. It's only USB Type-C that you can actually use to connect any UVC signal into the box, which is this port right here. On the other side, you have an SD card slot. The SD card slot is mostly if you want to upgrade the firmware. At first, I thought you could record on the box, but that's not true. And then you have an Ethernet port, which is gonna allow you to connect an Ethernet cable. And actually, it does say that it supports NDI and PoE. I did test NDI, it works. PoE, it doesn't work so far. Having PoE switch maybe doesn't have enough power, I don't know, but so far it hasn't worked for me. This is probably gonna be something that I will keep testing, or maybe it's gonna come with the firmware update, I don't know yet. But so far I tried to power it just using this cable, which is connected to an Ethernet switch that has PoE, and it did not work. By the way, this device was sent to me by OBSBOT for the purpose of this review, but they're not sponsoring this video. But anyways, so far the box is 100% metal, super solid. They make really good stuff. The quality is awesome. Also on both sides you have this quarter 20 for like if you want to attach it to a tripod or a light stand or anything that supports that mounting system, you are actually good. So this is what the box looks like. It's awesome, and I've been playing with it and it does work. So in fact, I'm gonna show you, by the way, it does support 4K. I'm gonna show you right now. I have OBS open, and what we're gonna do is I'm gonna connect it just to show you. So I've got the power connected, and right now it's powered, it's on. It's got a little fan, so when you connect it, there's no turn on and off button. So when you connect it, it's just gonna run the fan, and then you know that it's got power. You got a little tiny light as well on the top, and that's pretty much it, right? It's got ventilation, is really good. It actually does overheat a little bit, so be aware of that. So next up, what I'm gonna do, so now it's powered on, we're gonna go ahead and actually test our OBSBOT Tiny 2. I have it connected right now. This is what it's supposed to do, by the way. So it's UVC, so you're gonna need a USB Type-C cable, of course, connected, and then you want to make sure you connect to the right port here. And right now it's connected. If I go to OBS now, so I'm gonna go to this scene right here, I'm gonna go hit a plus sign. So I'm gonna go ahead and add an NDI source here, and then we can call it, I'm just gonna leave it NDI. You can name it whatever you want, and I'm gonna hit OK, and then I'm gonna go to source name, and then as you can see, I have the NDI adapter is gonna show up. Okay, everything else can stay the way it is. I'm gonna hit OK. So now, as you can see, we have a signal coming from my webcam back into OBS. As you can see, it's actually a 4K signal because that support 4K. You can actually still control the device. Just to control it, you're gonna need to use one of the web interface. Also, you have multiple ways of controlling the settings for the actual box. Another way of doing it is actually to use the OBSBOT Center software. Some of them are not actually ready because I try to connect, it doesn't connect. I can't see the device, not showing. Maybe there's a way to, because right now it's connected on the same network as my computer, but OBSBOT Center is not finding it. I know it's pretty new, so probably they're still working on some of the stuff. Again, I'm not gonna get into controlling the device and everything. If you're interested, let me know. It's gonna be for another video, but I just wanted to show you guys that it was working with the webcam. But still, my question is, why would I do this? So as you can see, I got the webcam here. It's working, no problem. Again, the question is, why would I need to do this? Because I can simply connect the webcam directly into my computer. I don't need to go through NDI. Now, one of the ways, maybe I gotta be a little friendly with OBSBOT. Maybe one of the use case scenarios that I would see myself using this feature would be if I want to have maybe the webcam somewhere far away from me where the webcam cannot reach my computer with a USB cable, then I could consider adding this little box somewhere far from me and actually connect using my network, right? Using an Ethernet cable for NDI, and then be able to have maybe my webcam in the back there. Probably that's an option, but still I believe there's maybe some other solutions. Instead of just getting this adapter, I just feel like UVC to NDI is not that needed right now. No, maybe if you need it, you know, just forgive me, and I'm not trying to be bad to OBSBOT. They're awesome. It's just like the idea, I don't know, maybe it's just not made for me. Okay, I'm just gonna say it that way. It's not made for me. I just don't see any use for this device, and I'm really sorry to say this. For me, for some people, again, let me know if this is useful. My job is to make the content and show you some of the things that you can actually use. But if it's useful to you and you really need it, it works. As you can see, I can clap. The signal is awesome. The camera is connected. The lag, there's almost no lag. It's super fast. Any camera with USB should be good. However, there's one thing that personally I think would be more useful. If it was HDMI, actually, there's so many cameras out there that you can connect using USB, that you can connect using HDMI. And if you have the ability to turn any HDMI camera into an NDI source, I think most people are going to be happy with that product. With this box, I had to find a way to kind of hack into it. I mean, I didn't do any hacking, super hacking, but I had to find a way to do it on this box. And that's what I'm gonna show you. So what I was able to do is we're gonna go ahead and actually kill this signal. I'm gonna disconnect my OBSBOT. I have my camera right there. It's an HDMI camera, is my Mevo core camera, but I'm using the HDMI option. It's a camera that has NDI too, but it could be any camera with HDMI. Now I've got my HDMI cable here coming from the camera right here. I've got my capture card, which is capture cards basically it's like HDMI to USB. Since this box does not support directly USB-A, I had to turn the USB type A into USB type C, which is a little cable that I had to use right here. Basically, it's just a simple adapter that turns USB type A female port into USB type C. I connect my capture card into the adapter. I believe you can find some capture cards that are actually type C. That's possible as well. And then connect my HDMI cable into the capture card. I've got now USB type C. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and connect the USB type C into the box. So now we have an HDMI camera connected into an NDI adapter, which means I should be able to get an NDI signal into OBS, which means I can use any HDMI camera and turn it into HDMI. This is super useful if you're doing events like church services or concerts or events where you need maybe a camera somewhere in the lobby and you want to be able to send that signal instead of like it's kind of too far. Use HDMI, send that signal over NDI into the main production room. This could be useful even in my studio here. I can have maybe one of my cameras in a different room or kind of far away for a different angle. Instead of running like long HDMI cables, I can simply use, because I got some Ethernet cables kind of wired into my wall, so I can access Ethernet connectivity anywhere from any room in my house. So that's super useful. And check this out. So now I go back to OBS. I go to my NDI source. Now it's kind of frozen because I had to disconnect the camera. Let's go ahead and cancel this. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually delete it, and I'm gonna go ahead and add a new NDI source. I don't have to name it, and then I'm gonna look for anything available right now. All right, so I go to my NDI source and then I go to my source name. As you can see, it's available right now. I'm just gonna choose it, and as you can see now, I have a signal coming from my HDMI camera. So now this makes more sense. So as you can see, I can do whatever I want. I can clap. The signal is awesome. Okay, again, guys, check this out. This is 100% HDMI. So you can see HDMI coming in. You can see the capture card, and then you can see USB getting into the box. You can see the tally light, it's on. This is the power to power the device, and then we have our Ethernet cable coming in. And as you can see, the HDMI signal is actually really good. This is more useful to me, at least. I don't know, maybe OBSBOT is gonna make another box exactly like this one, but with HDMI into NDI. Probably there's some other adapters out there that were made for that purpose. Either way, I think this would be more useful for most people. If you need the other option as well, it's available for you. If you have this box, definitely you could do actually both. You could do both UVC to NDI if you need it, and you can still do HDMI to NDI. As long as you do it my way, I think there's a way around it and it works perfectly. So that's my thought, guys. I feel like it's a good product. It's just for my use case scenario, I feel like it'd be more useful for most people. But again, if you need it, you need it. It was probably not made for me. So that's it, guys. Let me know what you think about this box. Super excited about OBSBOT and all the good stuff they're making. So if you want to see me using the OBSBOT Tiny 2, which is a fantastic webcam, without this box, just using it directly into OBS and setting it up to be able to go live, you want to make sure you check my next video right here, and I'll see you there, guys. Take care.